What was I thinking? Let's face it, for every great boss battle that exists, there's a boss battle that is absolute crap. Whether they're cheap, annoying, unsatisfying, or just disappointing, there are a lot of bad bosses out there. Today's countdown revolves around these boss battles, more specifically my top 10 least favorite bosses in video game history. Notice how I said least favorite, implying that this is entirely my opinion and not a fact. Also, the basic rules apply. One per franchise and only from games I've played, obviously. Without further said, let the flowing rage commence. As I said in my top 10 favorite boss battles list, a majority of the bosses in Rise Star are just meh. But out of all the bosses in the game, the absolute worst is the fourth boss of the game, Autarch. Yeah, I agree, the name is really weird, but it gets even worse from there. The fight begins, and Autarch steals the show from the performer bird and starts singing. And apparently, his singing is so bad that the music notes that spawn from his voice can actually hurt you. This is the main reason why I hate this boss. The music notes are really hard to dodge, and it's near impossible to grab them, so dodging is pretty much mandatory. After enough hits, Autarch will fall off of the stand and start slamming his body on the stage, diving at you, and using his feathers to hurt you. His dive attack can be quite frustrating, because if your jump is timed even just a bit poorly, he'll hit you. Also, another problem with this fight, it's so long! I mean, seriously, it takes way too many hits to kill him. I know I said that Rise Star's bosses weren't that great, but at least the rest were tolerable. This one's just terrible. Not just as a boss, but as a singer. Oh, if Autarch ever went on American Idol, Simon Cowell would lose his mind.
I mean, that was musical murder.
Mr. Game & Watch is definitely a character where logic is non-existent. He can turn into an octopus, can spawn sausages from his pan, and can transform into a giant, double-sided mechanical monster. Because why not? Now there are a lot of reasons why I really hate Duon from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. First off, unlike the other bosses in the game, there's no logic behind this one. How on earth can the Mr. Game & Watch trophy turn into this huge monstrosity? Even Taboo made more sense than this thing. Jeez, I haven't even gotten to the fight and I'm already ticked off beyond belief. Speaking of which, we should probably start talking about the boss fight now. As mentioned before, Duon has two sides. One side is based around sword attacks, while the other side uses lasers and cannons to fight. The sword side's attacks are pretty easy to avoid, though if you do get hit, they do a crap ton of damage. However, the laser side is what makes this fight so annoying. A majority of his attacks are near impossible to avoid, most notably his rapid laser attack. Plus, it also constantly jumps and dashes in order to get damage on you, and that dash can be an absolute pain! But despite these facts, this boss fight is extremely unmemorable and kind of boring. When compared to fights like Rayquaza and Ridley, Duon is such a bland boss battle. Mr. Game & Watch, you should be ashamed for being part of this boss. Do any of you remember that guy?
Yeah, that guy. He likes luck. He believes in the lottery of life. I f***ing hate that guy.
Well, I think I found the boss equivalent to that guy. Bowser from Mario Party 7. You want a luck-based boss fight? Look no further. Basically, for this battle, you're in a castle with a humongous tower, and your goal is to get the elevator to the top of the 100-floor tower. Now, how do you think you get the elevator moving? With dice blocks, of course! Depending on what you roll, that's how many floors you move up. But the thing is, almost every time you roll the dice, you barely get anything higher than a 4. But that's not all. The entire time, Bowser is spamming fireballs and annoying lock-on missiles! But that's not all! Once you pass floor 50, Koopa Kid comes out of nowhere and he begins to spam fireballs and lock-on missiles. Plus, the two of them perform a dual laser attack that's aggravating to dodge! So, overall, Bowser combines annoying attack patterns with a horrible way of portraying luck in a video game. As if Mario Party couldn't get any more luck-based already. Any Donkey Kong Country players out there? Sweet! Then this segment won't be so awkward then. Now, who remembers the King K. Rool battle from the original... Hey, hold your horses, I'm not done. Anyways, the fight against King K. Rool at the end of Donkey Kong Country was a really great final boss. With an epic song, a nice difficulty, and an overall sense of satisfaction, the final battle was just awesome. So, when Donkey Kong Country 2 was released, we were expecting an amazing final boss, just like the first game. However, that didn't seem to happen either. Hey, calm down. I'm not talking about the fight in the Flying Croc. That fight was awesome. I'm talking about the actual final battle. You know, the one in the Lost World. You know, the one where the captain never stops spamming attacks that are easy to dodge. You know, the one where you kill him in one hit. Yeah, that one. This final battle was such a disappointment, especially when compared to the final boss of the last game and the battle beforehand in the Flying Croc. At least the final battle of Donkey Kong Country 3 made up for that. Somewhat. If any of you saw Top 13 Sonic Adventure 2 bosses, you were probably expecting the Knuckles and Rouge fight to be on this list, right? Well, it's not. Believe it or not, Knuckles vs. Rouge is not my least favorite boss in the game. That would be the rematch between Tails and Eggman on the Space Colony arc. As I said in the top 13, I hate this boss with a passion. If I had described this fight in one word, it would be cheap. Why? Because even though there are only about 10 to 12 rings in the arena, which can't even get you the low-level special, your opponent will constantly spam his mid-level and high-level specials, which is extremely annoying. It's even worse as Tails, because when you fight Eggman, he has the shield upgrade, which means you will do less damage to him than usual. And you thought the Knuckles vs. Rouge and Bio-Lizard battles were bad? This is atrocious! Thank goodness for the Sonic vs. Shadow fight, otherwise I would have lost all hope in the game's boss battles at this point. How many times will I have to talk about this guy? I mean, seriously. Anyways, it's time to talk yet again about the final boss of Super Adventure Island 2. Well, you know what? I'm tired of calling him that all the time, so from now on, I'm calling him the Phantom. Don't question the unoriginal name, I don't care. Anyways, on to the fight. So why is this fight so bad? Well, for starters, it comes out of nowhere! For the entire game, we thought that the buzzer would be the game's final boss, and would have been a fine final boss. But of course not. The developers decided to randomly toss in the Phantom and say he was the cause of everything. And then after you get the Sky Bell and go through the tedious Fua Fua level again, you get to the horribly disappointing final battle. Let's start with the first phase. It's annoying, repetitive, and not fun at all. It starts with the Phantom summoning a ring of fireballs around him that constantly spread out, which can be a real pain. After enough hits, his cloak separates from his body, somehow, and now you have to destroy the body. He uses the same attacks as before. Once the body is destroyed, the cloak starts to fly around and charge at you, which is really annoying. However, after enough hits, the Phantom is done for. Or rather, I wish it was. Now there's the second phase, and it sucks! Not only is the design and arena completely out of place with the rest of the game, but the fight is such a fail! The Phantom can now throw energy balls and try and snap at you with his claws, the former which can be a real pain. But once you destroy the claws, the fight should be over, right? Of course not! Now he sprouts legs and a stinger, and begins to crawl around, stabbing at you with his stinger. And once you beat him at this point, he's finally defeated! The fight against the Phantom is a really long fight, and it's far from satisfying. Both phases are absolutely terrible, and it's overall a terrible conclusion to such an awesome game! Oh, Crash Bash. What a fun game. Sometimes, I think it's even more entertaining than the Mario Party games. However, while the game had some fun minigames, like the pogo stages, the arena stages, the ballistic stages, and the polar stages, then there was the tank stages. These stages were just so frustrating and hard to control. And what better thing to do than make an entire boss fight with the tank? Ugh, I hate this boss fight. Like the Phantom, the battle against the Komodo brothers is two aggravating phases. In the first phase, the Komodo brothers use an artillery base that consists of 3 levels. To move on, you must destroy all the weapons on that level. The first level has 3 cannons that shoot spiky balls, the second level has 4 satellites that shoot laser shots, and the third level has 2 turrets that shoot missiles. This brings the first reason on why I really hate the tank. It's so slow! It's near impossible to dodge any of the Komodo brothers' shots. But if you think the battle is over once the turrets are down, think again! At this point, Komodo Joe and Komodo Mo get into their own tanks and start firing their lasers away, which, again, are really hard to avoid because of how slow your tank is. Believe me when I say that you will be hearing a lot of this during the battle.
You fail.
Heck, you can make a song using every single time you hear that. And I did just that.
3, 2, 1, go! Fail, fail, you fail, you fail, you fail, 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 you fail, you fail, you fail, you fail, you fail.
Have any of you ever heard of Toho? You know, that insane space shooter? Well, how would you feel if that got turned into a boss fight in a platformer? Case in point, Anubis Rex from Pac-Man World. You thought Blinky from Pac-Man World 2 was a pain? Well, yeah, he is, but so is this boss. In the first part of the fight, you're in a temple tunnel running from what looks like a mummy hand, don't ask, while spears are sprouting out of the ground. When did this become Indiana Jones? Anyways, that's not the annoying part of the fight. The annoying part of the fight is the second phase. Basically, to unveil his weak spot, you must activate the 4 devices using your rev ability. However, every time he takes damage, he adds an attack. First, he adds a black tornado, then he adds meteors, and finally he adds lasers. The problem is that all of these attacks happen at the same time! So, in other words, you have to activate these devices while also dodging a crap ton of nearly unavoidable attacks. See what I mean by a Toho the boss fight? Number 2 is Hades. Huh. Thought he would have appeared by now.
Really? A boss has the same name as mine, and you think that warrants my presence? Whatever. Here's your little cameo. Hades out.
Well, that didn't go as well as I wanted. Anyways, the actual number 2 is Hades the War Machine from Bomberman 64, or alternately known as the Hot Avenger. You want a frustratingly hard boss? Look no further! Why do I hate this boss fight? Let me list the reasons. First off, for some reason, some of your attacks, even if you directly hit the boss's weak spot, won't damage him! Why? Also, the War Machine has way too many instant death attacks. He has 2 eye laser beams that cover a large amount of the extremely small arena that you're on, and he also has an irritating meteor attack that can also kill you instantly. Not to mention, his punches that stun you can be quite a pain. I was stuck on this boss fight for months. This is probably the longest time I've ever been stuck on a boss fight in my life. Not to mention, this is probably the only time in my life where I actually threw my controller in rage. I absolutely hate no, despise this boss fight with a burning passion greater than 1,000 supernovas! That's it, I'm done. I am done! I'm the one-winged angel, and cue the outro! Fine, I'll finish the list. Alright, I'm at the final battle of Final Fantasy VII. Man, this fight is so awesome. How could it get any better than this? Wait, it's not over yet? Oh sweet, there's a second phase. Oh man, that music, those flashy attacks. This fight is epic. Alright, I finally beat Sephiroth. Now let's sit back and watch the ending unfold. Wait, what? What's going on? Hold on. Sephiroth's still alive? Oh, this is going to be awesome! A one-on-one duel between Cloud and Sephiroth. This is going to be the best final battle ever! Huh. Seems it automatically gives me Omni Slash. Cool. Alright, let's use this attack. Man, that attack did a lot of damage, but Sephiroth's not going to go down that easily. Wait, what? What? That's all? One hit? Yes, as much as it pains me to say this, but my least favorite boss battle of all time is, in fact, the final battle against Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. I don't even know why Square Enix made this fight. The battle against Sephiroth beforehand would have been a perfectly fine final boss. Now, as you probably know, you can kill Sephiroth with one hit using Omni Slash. However, there's one problem. Anything can kill Sephiroth in one hit, whether it be a weak slash or even a level 1 fire spell. Heck, you could put the controller down and win the fight, as Sephiroth will attack you, but it will never kill you, and Cloud will counterattack, thus ending Sephiroth instantly. But the fact that he dies in one hit is not the reason that he's number 1. Heck, it's not even because it followed up such a fantastic two-phase boss fight. No. The absolute worst part is the fact that this was meant to be the last stand for my absolute favorite video game villain of all time, and the fight completely ruined his name. That alone cements this battle at number 1. I'm the one-winged angel, and Sephiroth did not deserve such a terrible final battle!